Good morning, Broncos fans. I'm your host, Thomas Hall, and we're going to wait just a moment to make sure everybody has a chance to join the live stream. When I get the signal for that, we will go live. I am bringing you Legends of Mile High, and today we actually have a legend of Mile High joining us. So please welcome four-time All-Pro, six-time Pro Bowler, and Broncos Ring of Famer, the legendary Karl Mecklenburg.
Morning, Thomas.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. It truly is an honor to have you on the show, and I know that all of the listeners are excited to have you on. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Before we get started, I know you had an amazing football career, and before we really dive into that, just tell us a little bit about what you're doing now.
Yeah, I'm a professional speaker. I travel around the country doing keynote speeches, teamwork, leadership, sometimes safety, which is ironic. Playing linebacker and doing safety speeches, but love it. Get to perform, never get hurt. It works out great for me.
Yeah, that's nice. What do you? What's the most of the topics about? Do you pull on your football career quite often when you're doing the speeches?
I do, Thomas. I'm a storyteller. Each speech is tailored for the organization's challenges and their needs. Talk about teamwork, courage, dedication, desire, honesty, and forgiveness, goal setting, universal keys to success that apply across the board. So I end up speaking in all kinds of different industries, associations. I was up in Buffalo, Wyoming last week speaking. I spoke at 5 schools and a church, so I'm
Nice.
all over the place.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and I know that you've had a very, very good, very good career you're truly one of a kind player. I feel like you're the most versatile player in the NFL, and I really want to dive into that a little bit. But first, can you just describe kind of how your football career got started and some of the challenges?
Yeah, Thomas, I was not the golden boy. I was not John Elway. I was the guy who was a JV player as a junior in high school. I didn't make the varsity team. I was as a senior, I was all state as a tight end and a defensive end, but I was only 6 feet tall and 200 pounds. I grew 3 inches and 40 pounds my first year of college. So I went to a Division II school, Augustana College in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Was there for a couple years, and then they took away my partial scholarship, so I left. I walked on at the University of Minnesota, earned a scholarship, got an injury. They tried to take the scholarship away. I was the 310th pick of the draft, 12th rounder. And things worked out. I ended up in the right place at the right time. Joe Collier saw something in me that no coach ever had, and that was a linebacker. I never played linebacker in my life till my 3rd year in the NFL. 10th game of the year, the Raiders were coming to town, biggest game, as you know, back in those days. I got to start. Rick Dennison got hurt. I had a big hit. They still show on highlight videos. I hit Marcus Allen and knocked him out. The Fox Sports News program, the Sports List listed it as one of the top 10 hits in NFL history. And I was just starting out. So I made the Pro Bowl that year as an all-pro linebacker. So I found my niche. And then Joe saw other things in me and started moving me around. I played all 7 defensive front positions a few times in a single game. And that was something nobody's ever done before or after. So it was a great opportunity. Joe was trying to put me at the point of attack. I wasn't fast enough to get to the point of attack, so he's just going to line me up there and let me play. So that was pretty cool.
So being not super fast as you describe, what did you use as a motivation to really play the linebacker position and play at a high level? So
yeah, it wasn't a motivation thing, Thomas. It was decisiveness. And if I had to boil my NFL career down to one word, it would be decisiveness. Taking the first step in the right direction before anybody else does, and that's through preparation. That's through trusting yourself, allowing yourself to go when it's time to go, and it's a huge thing, not only for football, but for life, for business, for relationships. If you know what to do, go. Don't sit around and wait. And that for me was the deal. I was in the right place at the right time, not because I was faster than anybody, but if you can take that first step before anybody else, you've got a chance. If I had to run 40 yards on the field, we were in big trouble anyway. That's not a realistic measure of somebody's quickness on an NFL field.
So yeah, I actually talk about that often, about how, the 40 time is kind of, for a linebacker, one of the later things. It's a nice to have. For you, what do you think, if someone's looking at a draft pick or whatever, what are some of the things you like to look at for an inside linebacker?
Well, first of all, an inside linebacker has got to be smart enough to control the defense. That's a huge piece of his job. My role was to make sure the front seven were in the right place at the right time. When the offense adjusted, all those defensive linemen are staring at the ball, right? Or staring at the nose of the man lined up across from him. That's all they see. So if anything changes back there, the inside linebacker's job is to get everybody lined up right. I think that's something that Josie Jewell is really good at. I've watched him, just the growth from his first year to his second year was tremendous, and then he ended up getting hurt. But he's a guy that you can trust to get everybody lined up right, and then the big plays don't happen. The outside linebackers are doing the right thing, and so you get the pressure, and then there's an interception, and it doesn't look like Josie Jewell had anything to do with it, but really he got everybody shifted around and lined up right, and that's why it happened.
Great. So can you explain a little bit about, as you were moving around the front seven, just how different is it from nose tackle to inside linebacker to edge rusher? What kind of preparation did you have to do during the week in order to be able to, it's like, seamlessly move around?
Yeah, it's there's a reason nobody else has done it. It's not easy. I just had to remind myself where I was. Your footwork is different. Your vision is different. Your assignments are different. But as an inside linebacker, you should know everybody's assignment already. I mean, that's a given. But to have the strength to play nose guard and take on two blockers, to play defensive end and be in charge of containment, to play inside linebacker and have to go from sideline to sideline. I mean, there's not very many guys who have that skill set, and then to be in a situation where everybody else in the front seven can play two positions. See, that's the thing that really makes it hard. Every time I moved, that meant somebody else had to move, right? So it was a special group of guys, and Joe Collier was a mastermind. The stuff he came up with, I mean, they play it all the time now, but the man in his own scheme, half the defense being a man, half the defense being a zone, those kind of things were things that Joe came up with. I mean, Joe was a tremendous coach. There's a guy who should be in the Hall of Fame long before me or Randy Gradishar or all the guys he put in the right positions.
Right. Yeah, I think that the NFL Films or something like that should do a show featuring what he was able to do and what you were able to do. I think it would be great viewing for NFL fans, because I think it's hard for people to realize just how difficult it is to do all what you did. I mean, it's not something that's that you can just automatically do, because you're 240 pounds. You're giving up 30, 40 pounds sometimes to offensive linemen when you're lined up at nose guard. So I think it would be good
strength
viewing.
Is something you can control yourself. I spent a lot of time in the weight room. I was able to clean and jerk over 450 pounds. I was an explosive player at the point of attack. But that doesn't. You don't have to be big to do that. It's a matter of taking the time and working out the way I started when I was 10 years old. I played all the way until I was 34. It was always a passion for me, and if I was making decisions, it was based on being the best football player I possibly could. So I was in the weight room. I was running. I was in the film room. I was in the training room. I was doing anything I possibly can to just find that one more step, just get a little bit closer to that perfection that you're always trying for.
Great. So when Joe Collier left as defensive coordinator, Wade Phillips came in. Did anything change for your style of play when Wade took over?
Oh, it was completely different.
Okay.
We were running a 2 deep zone probably 85% of the time. Joe was going to outcoach the other team. He was going to figure out what their weaknesses are, what their tendencies were, how we could attack it. Every week we had 120 different defenses with adjustments based on our opponent that changed week to week. Under Wade, he was like, okay, I'm going to put you in a solid defense and trust you to make the plays. Your athletic ability, your approach. So it was a completely different system, but it fit our group at the time. I believe in 1989 we were first in the NFL in defense as far as yardage goes, I played inside linebacker on running downs. I played right defensive end on passing downs, and that's what I did. So
Okay.
it was different. Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't move around as much under
Not
Phillips.
nearly as much. Yeah. On our nickel defense, I was the right defensive end. Like I said, I was the weak inside linebacker on running plays.
Now, I have talked about this plenty of times and tried to convince people that it's true. And I want your perspective on it. I think that 89 season, that was maybe your best season. And you should have gotten some defensive player of the year recognition for that. It was incredible. You had over 140 tackles, 7.5 sacks, some forced fumbles, fumble recovery, touchdown. It was a great season. So do you think that was your best season? And what was it about it that made it so special?
It was a great year. It was. I can't tell you what made it special. I think simplifying the defense and just having that load taken off of me helped me a little bit and helped the guys around me too. See, any sort of greatness, any sort of success you have in football is related to your teammates. And our offense, we had Bobby Humphries came in and they ran the ball tremendously that year. I mean, Bobby led the league in rushing. So then all of a sudden you're not on the field all the time as a defense. So then you're fresher. We had Steve Atwater coming into his own. We had obviously with Dennis Smith and Steve Atwater back there, it was probably the most dangerous safety combination you could ever imagine. I remember holding up running backs as they're trying to get an extra yard, yelling at them, "Get down, get down!" Get down. I don't want to get hit by those guys. We were just a great defense and a very complimentary offense. Like I said, Bobby Humphries, and then obviously John Elway. If the game's close at the end, we're going to win that thing. That was just John's approach to it, and it worked out more often than not.
Great. I got a question here from one of the listeners. Lawrence Rivera asks, "Who was the toughest you had to go up against?" So that's a great question.
That is a great question. Now I don't know if Lawrence means running back or lineman, but I could tell you both. Hog Hanna, John Hanna, played for New England, was All-American at Alabama before that, but just a stump of a man. Run into him and there was no give whatsoever. They used to run this student body sweep where they'd pull both guards and bring a fullback and then the tailback behind that. And usually as an inside linebacker, you can kind of hide behind the tackle or hide behind the defensive end, and that pulling guard won't find you, but Hanna would always find you, and then terrible things would happen to you. So I would say John Hanna as far as a lineman, and then running backs, any of those little fast guys,
Yeah.
the Barry Sanders of the world, the Kurt Warner, that guys in that ilk, the little quick guys. Give me a big, heavy guy that tries to run me over. I can handle that. But those little quick
Right.
guys were tough.
Okay, great. I have another question for you. What is your favorite memory from playing?
Probably the drive game.
Yeah.
That whole environment. I mean, we stayed in the downtown hotel, and they drove around our hotel all night long, honking their horns, trying to keep us awake, barking at us. I mean, it was just us against the world in that environment. Remember the whole path between that Tower Hotel downtown and the stadium, the old mistake at the lake there. It was about 5 miles, and it was completely lined with Browns fans. They were cussing at us and throwing bones at us all the way driving to the stadium. There was dog bones 3 inches deep on our sidelines that they had thrown at us all game. You had to leave your helmet on the sidelines. I mean, it was us against the world, and it was special.
Yeah, that one of my favorite memories. That's when I was locked in as a Broncos fan for life after watching that. I knew I was watching Broncos back then a lot, and I really love the team. But after the drive, I mean, I'm hooked for life for sure. Do you think anyone coming up or in the future will ever be able to play the way you did, moving around like that?
Yeah, if they get in the right situation and the coaches, I mean, everything had to line up. And I was a big part of those teams, but once again, everybody had to play 2 positions. So you had to have the right group of guys. You had to have the right coach who was kind of a mastermind and was willing to try things. To me, what a great coach or a great leader is going to do is he's going to identify the strengths and the weaknesses of the people that work for him. Then use the strengths of the individuals to help the team, use the strength of the team to cover for the weaknesses of the individual. And then you got a chance to have huge success. And Joe was great about that. And the other coaches had to agree too. Stan Jones, Merle Moore, the linebacker coach, Stan Jones, the defensive line coach. I mean, I was on the nickel defense, rushing as a defensive end, but I was spending all my time in the meetings with the linebackers. Stan had to trust me to understand what I was supposed to do, even without being in the meetings. So it was a team thing. But obviously I benefited from it, but so did the whole team. So did the whole city. I mean, what a great opportunity that, as a defensive player, where do you want to be? Put me at the point of attack. I mean, that's where I want to be. I don't want to be off in the sidelines. Put me right in the middle of it.
Yeah. I mean, totally. You're a one of a kind player in my book, Swiss Army knife. I'd be even now that the NFL loves the versatility, it's going to be a tough for someone else to come in and play the way you did for sure. I'm going to jump over from the past and into present day a little bit. So we got a good question here. One I wanted to ask: what are your thoughts on Baron Browning moving from inside linebacker to more of an edge rusher? And do you think he's going to be strictly edge, or do you think he's going to be a kind of a hybrid role where he moves around more often?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I do know that having played both positions, that it's a very different position. I mean, as an outside linebacker, your primary role is to make sure you contain things. Don't let them outside of you. Your job is to turn it back in to the other 10 guys, whether it's a running play or the quarterback scrambling around. Obviously, rushing the passer is a much bigger component for an outside linebacker than it is for an inside linebacker. And the other frustrating thing about playing outside linebackers, they can just go the other way. they don't have to run.
Right.
I mean, we had a little for half a year under Dan Reeves. Dan wanted us to have the Lawrence Taylor setup where they had. So we had Simon Fletcher on one side and me on the other side, and we're playing that way, and they just ran the other way. Anytime they wanted to run the ball, it went the other way. And that's tough to do when you're just, okay, if they come this way, I got you, but they never came my way.
Right.
So yeah, from that standpoint, you're not involved in things as much as you are at inside backer.
Right. What do you think of Baron Browning's rookie year at inside linebacker?
Yeah, last year was a tough year for inside linebackers for the Broncos. I don't know how many had 7 guys saw playing time at least. Injury after injury. Playing inside linebacker in the NFL as a rookie is tough. Once again, your primary job is to make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. As a rookie, that's a hard thing to do. I saw him make a lot of plays, but I also saw him give up a lot of plays. That was a challenge for him, but he grew throughout the year. Obviously, they went and picked up picked up that guy from the Rams. I don't remember his name. Kenny Young. Yeah, they picked up Kenny Young from the Rams, and he got a lot of playing time, and that helped. Then all of a sudden, the adjustments and the calls were on his shoulders instead of on Browning's, which helped a lot.
Great. What do you think of the current front seven, the way it's set up for the Broncos going into this season?
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know if anybody knows what the current front seven is. Truthfully,
Sure.
they've got a new coaching staff. They've got a new system. They got new expectations. I'm expecting Josie Jewell to be at the center of it. But beyond that, we will see. They've brought in some free agents. They've got some draft choices. They've got some choices to make. My guess is that it's going to be a stronger front seven than it's been for the last few years. Obviously, they miss a guy like my buddy who's out playing for the Rams, or now where is he? In Buffalo? Yeah,
Bills.
Yeah. But that's okay. People go, people come, the average career in the NFL is 3 years. So people come, people go. The ones that are going to make a difference for your team are the ones that are there. You can't worry about Vaughn being off in the hinterlands. We've got young guys to step up, and hopefully they'll take advantage of that.
Speaking of young guys, we've got Nick Benito. Thoughts on him, and also Uwazurike, rookie 4th rounder. What are your thoughts on those 2 defenders that the Broncos picked up?
I'm glad they drafted some defensive players fairly high. That's obviously they've got the skill set to play college football. Benito, I know, has had some real success rushing the passer. It's a little different in the NFL than it is in college. There's more responsibility for a linebacker. There's more options of things that happen on offense, but they can usually tell what kind of pass rusher you're going to be anyway by seeing what you did in college, because that's a skill set that if you got that speed to get around the corner and then actually finish the play and sack the quarterback, that's the same in the NFL as it is in college. Now you got to have some counter moves in the NFL because they're good athletes on the other side too. But he'll learn those. Those are things that you can teach. I remember going to training camp when Von Miller was a rookie, and I was working with the pass rushers, and I watched Von first couple of rushes, and I said, I'm just leaving him alone. Because it was all just about speed, getting around the corner, and they just couldn't keep up with him. And to this day, it's like that. But I'll work with these other guys, and that for me, running the 4.9 40, I wasn't the fastest guy off the ball either. I was the guy who had the good hand movement, and also I'd work one move a couple times and then come back with the counter, and I had a lot of different options to use as a pass rusher that allowed me to be successful, and that's something that can be taught.
Yeah, they do. They say that the great ones will rush one move for almost the whole game until they really need that counter move at the end to get to the quarterback. So it's good to hear
those
that
offensive linemen get get complacent. That's how come they're such big guys. They're used to sitting around. Right? So you beat them. You work one move a few, 3, 4 times, and then boom with that counter, and you got them.
Nice. So I know you retired after the 1994 season, and you played an incredible 12-year career. Do you wish you kind of stuck around for a few more years to get that Super Bowl in '97?
Yeah, I was done.
Yeah.
I wasn't the fastest guy anyway, and I had lost about half a step. And the difference between half a step in the NFL is the difference between making a play and getting hit in the ear hole. I mean, I had 3 concussions that last season, just because I was a half step short. My family needed me at home too. I mean, it was just time.
Nice. I do have another question here. How do you feel about the new rules?
The new rules, yeah. I don't know if I'd make the team.
Yeah.
The training camp, they're running around in shorts. I mean, I don't look good in shorts. Never have. That's not my deal. I'll hit you, but they don't hit in practice. And so I think that's the first step. I mean, I wouldn't have been drafted either. I mean, they only got 7 rounds, so I was a 12th rounder. So it would have been difficult to make the team. The contact rules, I understand why those are happening. Obviously, like I said, I've had a lot of concussions, and trying to protect guys from those concussions, I think, is a good thing. I think more important for the health of the player was actually a free agency. Before free agency, the team owned your rights. They could have any kind of doctor look at you, and they could put you in bad situations from a physical standpoint. And when free agency happened, all of a sudden your reputation as a team that takes care of its players and has a good medical staff is something that players look into. They're not going to go to a team that doesn't have a good medical staff and doesn't treat their players right. And that made a huge difference, I think, just in the way the teams treated the players from a physical standpoint, from a health standpoint. The new rules followed that.
Nice. I think you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I have talked about your Hall of Fame chances many times on a few different shows. I really hope you get in there. When you do, I'll say when you get into the Hall of Fame, when you're given that speech up there, I'm going to be there. What do you think your chances are of finally making it?
It's a tough deal. Having played all the different positions statistically, it's hard to say where I fit. With the other guys in the NFL. Now that should put me in the Hall of Fame on one hand, and on the other hand, it's like, well, you only had this many tackles, you only had this many sacks, you only had, and people look at it from that standpoint. But I'm dropping in pass coverage. I'm not going to have a sack when I'm in pass coverage.
Right.
So I think one statistic that I had recently brought up to me that I think maybe could make a difference is that in 86, 87, 89, the Broncos went to the Super Bowl. I was a big part of that. I played all the games. And then what happened in 88? Well, in 88, I missed 7 games. The only games I missed in the NFL. I broke my thumb, had a cast on it, broke it again inside the cast. Had to miss games for the skin to heal up after the surgery. So if you look at the games I played in 88, the Broncos allowed 17 points a game. The 9 games I played, the 7 games I didn't play, the Broncos gave up 26 points a game. That difference between 17 and 20, that's a 9-point swing, whether I played or I didn't play. In my mind, maybe that's a statistic that they could look at as he did make a huge difference on that team.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I think we could get some buzz going. I think if we all band together, kind of get some buzz going, like Clay Matthews Jr. got a few years ago, we'll hopefully get you in there. I'm going to start to wrap up the show, Karl. Really appreciate you joining. I just have one more question before we close it out, and that's who's the most underrated Broncos player of all time in your mind? Someone that just that was really good that people don't think about as being a great player.
Yeah. In my mind, that'd be Greg Cragen. Greg Cragen was a nose guard for the Broncos. Whenever he talks about his rookie year, I say, which rookie year? Because he got cut the first year. He came back, but he was unbelievable as far as he was a nose guard. He occupied two players on every play, and he wasn't the biggest guy. But he was a guy that was all heart and played unbelievably well for the Broncos until there was the expansion, and then he went to Carolina. And in Carolina, then all of a sudden Sam Mills was playing behind him, and Sam Mills had the best years of his career too. Right. So his play, his unselfish play, his ability to suck up two blockers and allow linebackers to run free was something that was tremendous. I think he made the Pro Bowl one year, so he did get a little bit of acknowledgement, but he was a stud in there.
Great. So if somebody wants to book you for a speaking engagement, how would they go about and do that?
Go to karlmecklenburg.com.
Okay.
Pretty simple. Right. You can misspell it a couple ways and still end up there. Well, karlmecklenburg.com.
Yeah. And I've seen some of your speaking engagements on YouTube. Great speaker. Anybody that books you will be happy to have you join their company or whatever to give a speech. So go to karlmecklenburg.com for that. And again, it's an honor to have a legend on this show. I mean, this is what it's about, Legends of Mile High. So I really appreciate you joining. And for all of the listeners, thank you very much. It was incredibly enjoyable, and I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Thomas. Thanks so much.
Thank you. So next week, I just wanted to give a quick, no Mile High legend tonight this morning, but next week we're going to have the Mile High legend. If you're interested, I'm going to tell a story about a player, a Ring of Fame player who came to the Broncos because of a piece of equipment. So if you're interested in that, tune in next week. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure having Karl Mecklenburg on the show, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Have a great day, Broncos fans.